Okay, so I parked all the bikes away for the moment. I doubt I'll be using them much over winter, depending on the weather. So I jumped back onto my project I bought myself a couple of years ago. This is my Honda CB400 F2. It's 1977. It was allegedly running, but I couldn't get it to run, so I gave up on that idea and basically started to strip it down to its components so I could start from a frame. So here's some pictures of the state of it when I first picked it up. Well, I did notice it had been butchered around quite a bit, so some of the cabling had been chopped and switches added and bits of wire taped up, and the seat was not original and there was lots of things not quite right with it, so it's probably best to strip it back to its bare components. So I've got it down to the frame, and as you can see in this shot here, it's not too bad, it's solid. So I took that to a local powder company called Wings and Son. While that was away, I did a few other jobs. I got the engine out, cleaned that, and I stripped that. I've got a video of me stripping the engine, so I'll show you that later on. But some of the problems I found where the cam chain had been eaten into the shoe. Well, that's probably why I had bits of metal in the bottom of the engine. As you can see, it's quite worn. The cam chain tensioner had been broken, so I've had that repaired on the case. And then when I took the engine apart, most of the piston rings were breaking off and falling apart, so probably just why I didn't get it to run. But basically the engine looked sound, the barrels didn't look too bad, the pistons didn't look too bad, but that's something I'm going to overhaul, but that's probably a bit later on. I've got to check all the bearing tolerances yet. So these are the components I took for powder coating to start with. Turned out like this. So I got the frame back, it looked really good. I did forget the VIN plates, so I had to go back and pick that up and reattach it, but they did a really good job on it. So I tackled a few other jobs while that was away. I did the engine cases, I cleaned them all up and sprayed them up because they are painted as an original, as originally supplied. And I baked them in the oven to make sure that was baked on properly, so they turned out really well. So I tackled the headlamp holder and I tackled the side panels. Well, one of them had a crack in it, so that's repaired. That's just roughly sanded and filled. Well, I won't be painting it, some other painting firm will do that for me. Decided I had to go at the rev counter and the speedo, so I took that apart and started to spray that up and clean it all up. I've still got to get a couple of crimping rings and decide what to do about the speedo faces and the rev counter faces. Do I buy new or do I leave originals in? I also refurbished the front wheels, first time I ever re-spoke the front wheel, so I'm really happy how that turned out, so that really looks good. That's new bearings, etc. and all that. My next job I'm currently doing is the rear wheel, so that's all stripped down, buffed it up on the bench grind I had using some of those like brown emery cloths, so they come up really well. This is my latest delivery from David Silver Spares. So you can see the new rim, there's a fuse box there, a regulator, handle grip, spokes, there's a few other bits and bobs in there to keep me going for a while. And yes, it's not a box of poop, it is actually an indicator relay there, but I found that quite amusing. So I've actually done quite a bit more than I've shown you there, but this is just probably to bring you up to speed to where I am, and hopefully over winter I'll start doing some little videos if you're interested in what I'm doing to get it returned back to the road. So I'll probably do the rear wheel as the first one, and I also need to post the one of me splitting the engine down. So yeah, thanks for watching, and hopefully if I have time and remember to do it, I'll record what I'm doing.